I have to admit, it's getting better. It's getting better. Since you've been mine.
And now, 1160 AM KBDT proudly presents Life Solutions, coaching, counseling, naturopathic medicine, insights for successful living, and getting better with Ann Beal.
Cheers and welcome to Getting Better with Ann Beal. I'm Ann Beal, and today I have an exciting guest, actually in studio, actually sitting beside me. I know that I've talked about him a lot, and I've had him on a couple times, but I've never had him in person today. Dr. Joe Wallach. He is a friend. He's a wonderful man. He's devoted his life to an incredible mission to help people get well. He's saved lives all over the world for decades and decades, and I just want him to feel comfortable today and enjoy the show. He has, for people who don't know about him, he has a bachelor's in agriculture. He is a veterinary doctor. He is a naturopathic doctor. He is a pathologist. And if you don't know about what a pathologist is, the best way, a friend of mine described it the other day, is they are the doctors of doctors of doctors. They are the head doctors of everything. They know everything. Pathologists do research to find out why people died as well. And Dr. Wallach, just welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Ann, so much for your hospitality, and I appreciate you letting me share with your audience.
Well, they need to hear you. They need to know how to get well. And I think that the pharmaceutical industry, a lot of people are kind of getting sick of that. But regular doctors, MDs, as what people here would call regular doctors, which is mostly in Texas, we mostly have medical doctors. They can only go so far. They're limited at what they can do. And so part of getting better is we want people to know there are lots of other things to supplement to that to get better. And there are parts of that medical model that can be harmful. And so part of what I have learned is from you. And I just feel like you are, like, for me, the mentor of mentors. I listen to you all the time.
Kind. Thank you.
So he has lots of books, just so you know. He has some of my favorites, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, Let's Play Doctor. His newest book, Epigenetics, and it is the death of the genetic theory of medicine. Disease
transmission.
Yes. Oh, death of the
genetic theory of disease transmission.
Yes, okay. And so he also has Let's Play Herbal Doctor, Hell's Kitchen, which is all about weight loss and all about food. And so I could go on and on and on. How many books do you have?
14 best-selling books.
14 best-selling books. So that means you have more than 14 books? Or are they all bestsellers?
They're all bestsellers.
And you have the book that's in the Smithsonian.
Yes, well, the book in Smithsonian was my thesis for my postdoctoral fellowship in pathology. Represents 20,000 autopsies, 17,000 some change of over 454 species of zoo animals, and 3,000 humans, 10 million chemistries. And my command from the government, it was a National Institutes of Health grant, started out $7.5 million, went to $25 million, was to find species of animals that were susceptible to the same pollutants that humans were. This was back in the mid-60s. Everybody knew the Earth was going to end in 2 weeks from pollution, and I was supposed to find species of animals were sensitive to the same pollutants. And if they weren't already in the zoos in the big cities, we were to catch them in the wild and put them in the zoos in the big cities and use them as the old coal miners used to use canaries, kind of the canary in the mine, to warn people. And it resulted in, again, 20,000 autopsies, 17,000 change over 454 species, and 3,000 humans. And usually when doctors or veterinarians will do a research project on a new pharmaceutical, a disease, a nutrient, they'll work on 50 white rats. And so this was far beyond anything that anybody else had ever done. And it's in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. I'm very proud of that. And they put a hard cover on it and turned it into a textbook. So it is a textbook, and very proud of that.
When you did that study, who had you do that study? How did you just, because you couldn't, I know you're very smart, but how did you come up with such a thesis?
Okay. Well, when I was a graduate student in pathology, I was only 21 years old, and I ran into the first mass die-off in America for pollution. It was Christmas, 1961. Everybody else was on holiday. I'm there by myself. I'm the new guy on the block, right? Left to do the autopsies and chemistries and things. And I ran into the first mass die from pollution, did all the chemistries, did the detector, got it all figured out and got it published in scientific journals. I'm giving copies to senators and governors and famous movie actors who were into the environment and things like that. And I gave one copy to Marlon Perkins, the old Mutual Omaha Wild Kingdom show. And I had worked for him when I was in junior high and high school in the first couple of years of college, and sent him a copy. And then 1964, I had my degree in agriculture. I had my degree in veterinary medicine. I was 2 years into my degree in pathology. And I decided I didn't want to finish up my degree in pathology at the same school and get 3 degrees from the same school. It didn't seem right to me. Wouldn't look good, I think. And so I applied to and got into Ames, Iowa State University to finish my PhD degree in pathology. And it was 2 years left. And 1 year into it, I get a letter from Marlon Perkins, and he says, I need you to go to Africa and work on a conservation project for me. When you're done, I'll get you back into graduate school or back to work at the zoo, whatever you want to do. But I need you there because I had worked for him, and he knew me. I could follow his commands. And I was a farm kid and wasn't afraid of big animals and things. And he sent me to work on the white rhino conservation project. There were 450 white rhino left south of the Zambezi River in Africa, which represents a third of the continent of Africa. And to make a long story short, I caught 200 in a 2-year period, not prepared to live in Africa forever. I'm having the time of my life, and sent them back to the United States. So if you see a white rhino in a wild animal park or a zoo, it's either one that I caught or offspring is one I caught. And I've been a featured speaker at the International Wildlife Commission's annual meetings in Austin, Texas here a couple of years ago. So I was very proud of that because of the work we did on the white rhino conservation. Well, 2 years into it, Perkins sends me another letter, said, look, using your degree or your article on the first mass die from pollution in America, we got this grant from the National Institutes of Health to study pollution and to find species of animals that were susceptible to the same pollutants as humans, put them into the zoos and use them as a canary in the mine. And we picked you to be the one to be the pathologist in the project. We formed a department in Washington University in St. Louis called the Center for the Biology of Natural Systems. And it starts out, you got $7.5 million. It's going to go to $25 million before it's over. And get back here now and find out these animal species for us in 1967. Make a long story short, in 10 years' time, I did my 20,000 autopsies and so forth. I find out several things. And that's the reason why my thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. I'm very, very proud of that.
So you took 10 years for the thesis.
Yes.
Wow.
And because the money kept coming in, the project kept getting bigger. And what I found was there are no genetically transmitted diseases. Medical doctors think everything's genetic. Zero is genetic. There are no genetically transmitted birth defects. None. Okay, babies are born without arms and legs. It was because of a prescription drug called thalidomide. Babies are born with cerebral palsy. It's because they got measles, during pregnancy and that kind of stuff. And so there's no genetically transmitted diseases, either as birth defects or when you're an adult. For instance, type 2 diabetes, which is thought to be genetic, is a simple nutritional deficiency of a single nutrient. Sickle cell anemia is supposed to be a genetic disease of people of color from Africa. And it turns out that I was finding it in white people. I'm finding it in hummingbirds and deer and antelope and stuff. I'm finding type 2 diabetes in crocodiles and deer and antelope and things. And so it became very clear that these were just simple nutritional deficiencies that any vertebrate, whether they were a shark or a turtle or a fish or a porpoise or a human being or a giraffe or a rat or a pig, or it didn't matter, any vertebrate, they were deficient in the same nutrient, got the same disease.
And they put that in the Smithsonian.
Yes, they put my thesis in the Smithsonian Institute.
And that's because it was groundbreaking.
It's groundbreaking. It eliminated the science of genetics from the standpoint of disease. And still, genes, determine your hair color and whether you're going to be an XX female or an XY male. But from a standpoint of disease, there are no genetically transmitted diseases. And it's all nutritional deficiencies are infectious diseases and that sort of thing.
Well, and they know that for animals because we had horses and race horses and jumping horses, which are very expensive. And the vet knew how to do everything to keep them from getting things. And if they got something, they immediately put stuff in their food, and it was nutrition or gelatin
Yes.
for arthritis.
Mhm.
I was so surprised that they quickly got rid of arthritis in our miniature horse that was trained at the San Diego Zoo, and he would do all these tricks. And the vet put powder in his food, and I had him come back thinking he needed more and more and more. And after 3 months, he said he won't need it anymore. It's such a strange thing when you learn about animal nutrition versus the way people, because we have insurance. But
Yes.
so if we,
Well, you said it. We have no insurance for animals, and no farmer is going to pay a lot of money to treat a horse for arthritis. They'll just shoot him in the head and get it over with, right?
Yeah.
And so they learn, because there's value in a horse that's trained, whether it's pulling the plow or getting you from here to there, whatever it might be. They wanted to save them if they could, but they couldn't afford a lot of expense. Or in human beings, they invented insurance, and it became the pattern. And of course, the insurance is abused. People are put on 6 and 8 and 10 and 12 and 20 different prescription drugs, and none of them are designed to cure the disease. They're all designed to relieve symptoms.
when I was younger, people didn't go to the doctor all the time. They just went, when it was super necessary, but they did a lot of preventative things that, like my grandparents, so they didn't have to go very often. And I fell and, cut my hand open, and they didn't take me to the doctor. They knew what to do. And so it just seems like I've seen a difference since pharmaceuticals have come on television, where they're selling them on TV, and people, because I've seen like almost a mentality, and maybe this is what the ads were trying to do, that if they make it look like this medicine is totally normal being out there, that it's like it's changed the mindset almost of people that medicine is normal and that everybody's on it and everyone needs it. And
well, it's a sales thing. They talk the viewer on the TV into buying that medicine, so you go to the doctor
and ask for
to get for the prescription. And of course, the doctor is happy because you just paid him $100 for the visit, and he gets a kickback from the pharmaceutical company for prescribing the drug.
It has become a very different world since, and that was like 98 when those ads started coming out. And I remember the psychiatrist I was interning for, he was very upset that they were on TV like that. But I was reading about ads and the pharmaceutical ads and how they were meant to change the mindset over time. So for your thesis, that whole thesis is how you came up with learning all about from those animals. You were actually looking for animals that died from pollution.
Yes.
Did you find any?
None.
None.
Not one human being in 20,000 autopsies did any human being or any animal, any vertebrate die of pollution. And of course, that was the big issue of the day during the 60s and 70s. The pollution was going to end the earth in 2 weeks. And it turned out that was a false theory, just like there's many false theories.
We're always going to die. It's like we're always going to die. The world's going to, pollution or global warming, whatever. It's always we're going to die. So what you found instead was they died from
nutritional deficiencies.
All those animals. That's amazing. Which is how you came up with the 90 nutrients.
That's correct.
So
all vertebrates require 90 essential nutrients. Again, whether you're a crocodile or a hummingbird or a giraffe or a human being or a snake or a porpoise, all vertebrates require these 90 essential nutrients. Otherwise, regardless of the species, if you're a vertebrate, you'll get the same deficiency disease, and you'll have the same birth defects.
So when you found these animals and they died, it was of these nutrients, that nutrient, that nutrient. So when we come back, I want you to tell more about the 90 nutrients, because eventually you saw it was all the same nutrients that were killing these animals, the deficiency of them.
The same ones, the deficiency killed people.
Exactly. So we will talk about that. So you can tell us the 90 nutrients or the, where they can get them, but also how it changes. We want to talk about high cholesterol, how it affects the body, and what to do about it. So when we get back, we'll talk about that right after our partners. Thank you.
It's getting better, a little better all the time.
And now here's more Getting Better with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
Welcome back. We just want to say hello to our Facebook Live listeners, people who are viewing in on Getting Better with Beal on Facebook. Thank you, Ron and Petra, for your input. You're asking about how to get Dr. Wallach's books. You can go to Doc's Recipes, docsrecipe.com, DOCSRECIPE.com. You can, of course, contact me, and I will get you one. Or you can call 1-800-214-0065, and we can answer any questions and get you everything that you need after the show. We were talking about your thesis. I know on break I asked you if your professors suggested you send that out, because I'm working on coming up with a topic for my dissertation. And I know how hard it is to come up with something new. That's why I was asking you those questions. But you said, no, your professors didn't have to do that, because during that whole 10 years, you were in the news every day.
Literally, and we were in the news every day because I'm finding this disease wasn't genetic, because sickle cell anemia wasn't genetic. It's a simple nutritional deficiency of the bone marrow development during the embryonic development of an embryo, as opposed to being a genetic disease. And it's totally preventable, and you can manage it with nutrition much better than drugs. And I was literally in the newspaper every day for that 10 years with this good news coming out that these are diseases that could be prevented, and many of them reversed. And people came to us wanting to ask specific questions about things we weren't talking about. And of course, this is why they put the hard covers on my thesis and made it into a textbook, and it's in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. I'm very, very proud of that, because it covered areas that nobody had ever looked at, because everybody believed everything was genetic. And usually, again, when a medical doctor or a veterinarian or a PhD candidate would do research on a drug or a nutrient or a disease, they'd use 50 white rats. Nobody had ever done 450 species of animals plus humans in the same study.
Well, did you ever find an animal that didn't die from a nutritional deficiency?
Well, every once in a while, one would be trauma. Or every once in a while, one would have an infectious disease. But that's small percentages compared to the nutritional deficiencies.
Did you find, now these animals, you were doing study of the bodies after they died.
Yeah.
And so
I didn't have time for clinical work. It was all autopsies.
How do you, I'm just fascinated, right? Like, how do you do that? Do you?
With a knife.
I didn't know if you burned the body, or what did you do? You talked about ashes from the wood, wood.
That's another subject.
That's got the minerals in it, right? So the 90 nutrients we were talking about right before break, that's how you came up with that there's 90.
Yes, because there's 90 essential nutrients that all vertebrates require. That was profound. All vertebrates require these 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. And I have to smile when you see advertisements on TV for a multivitamin tablet for sale, complete nutrition, and they have 6 minerals in it and 3 vitamins and a couple of amino acids and things. And they call it complete nutrition, not even close, not even a third. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done, information. And again, to prove that we could prevent these diseases and cure these diseases with nutrition was quite a landmark finding.
It's interesting because people can take some supplements to feel better, or they can eat fruit or vegetables, they feel better. But what you're talking about is the 90 so that they don't die. You're talking about, because people can feel great. We know athletes can look great, feel great, and they can drop dead. And so you're not talking about just feeling good. You're talking about truly inside your body, everything being well so that you don't die.
We're talking about maximizing lifespan and also maximizing health and function. And when you're talking about athletes dying suddenly, I've done 1,700 autopsies on humans that died of that sudden heart attack that athletes die from. 1,700 published in 3 languages. If anybody wants to look it up and challenge me, it's the primary one's in English. It's in the Journal of Trace Element Research. 1,700 autopsies, okay? And so, without bragging, I'm an expert. Nobody else has even come close to that. And these were all in human beings. And it's one of those things where I found many answers to diseases thought to be genetically transmitted, like cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, things like crib death, SID, sediment death syndrome. 2013, I was able to force the FDA to force manufacturers of the baby formulas to insert the one nutrient that was missing. And within a year, the state of North Carolina comes out and says, we don't know why, but sediment death syndrome has vanished from the state of North Carolina.
Well, and I know I used to just admire the guy that wrote the running book, Jim, and I know he died at 52. When you guys come right back after we hear from our partners, we are going to talk about 2 illnesses that everyone in our practice talks about, and I want to hear you tell them what they can do. So stay right here. We'll be right back.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
If you'd like to get better, call Ann right now. 214-810-8255. 214-810-TALK. Now more with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
Dr. Wallach is here. We have been picking his brain all about the 90 nutrients and how he came to learn that, and he teaches it all around the world. Dr. Wallach, with all that you've learned, I think people still today, because your thesis was put in the Smithsonian because it was groundbreaking. And I think what's so confusing is why aren't they doing that today instead of just this? So they don't do that in what we call regular doctors here in Texas. Instead, they just say, yeah, just eat right. You can get it from your food, right? So
That's
why
what they
can't
say.
you? Yes. So why can't you get it from your food?
Okay, well, plants, including all the vegetables and fruit and nuts and grains that people eat, only require 3 elements from the soil to make good seeds for the next generation. All vertebrates, including human beings, require 60 from the soil. So you can eat very well and be 57 short. That's the problem. That's the issue. And that's one of the reasons why my thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute. I was able to prove that very clearly. And the reason is this. If you look at the National Geographic and their blue zones and the top places where people live the longest on Earth and have the fewest disease and everything, of the top 20, 19 are third world cultures, have no doctors, no hospitals, no insurance, no pharmaceuticals. They just eat well. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They're very unusual, those top 19. And the reason is they live in a place where their soil has all 60 of these elements in the soil that we require, all vertebrates require. It's one of the few places on Earth that exists in that way. Farm here in Texas, you might only have 3 nutrients, and it's good for cotton to grow, okay, or peanuts, but not good for you to get food off of that land. And so to guarantee that we're going to get the 90 essential nutrients, we have to be like those third world cultures and get all 90 in our food. Well, you can't do it. So how do you do it? You have to supplement. You say, well, my grandmother lived to be 105 and she didn't supplement. Yes, she did. Yeah. Your grandmother grew up in a rural situation. Yes, she grew up on a farm and lived on the farm her adult life and had 10 kids on that farm, no birth defects, okay? Well, did she have a wood stove? Oh, yeah, they didn't have any electricity. It was a wood stove. What did she do with the wood ashes? Well, she put the wood ashes in the garden. Well, wood ashes, it turns out, are not ashes. Only 2% carbon, 98% are minerals. Now, the plants only require carrots and beets and corn and blueberries and cabbage, whatever it is you're going to eat out of your garden, require only 3 elements from the soil. But if let's say there's 18 in that soil, or 25 or 40, the plants will suck them all up. They only need the 3, but they'll suck up any that are available in the soil. You then burn the wood, for instance, or eat those vegetables. You get your minerals that way. But let's say you're putting wood ashes in the garden, which has 25 minerals in it. The plants suck them up, and you eat the plants, and you're getting your minerals that way. Think, well, I'm not supplementing vitamins and minerals. Well, you are getting your minerals. You're getting 25 minerals instead of just 3, because that's where you live.
But you showed us last night that when people do their hair analysis, that if they're below that line, they're not getting their nutrients.
Well, that means they're not absorbing.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're getting the nutrients, if you're not absorbing, that's another issue.
Right.
You're not what you eat, you are what you absorb. And so when people have a long life, they're getting the nutrients somehow. In the old days, it was through the wood ashes. When we went to electricity at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, Thomas Edison pulled the switch on the first commercial electric generating plant on Pearl Street. And there's a museum there to that event. Within 10 years, every municipality and city in the industrialized world converted to electricity instead of wood, and immediately everybody's getting all these diseases they thought were genetic.
Well, and it's interesting because the Pima Indians, when you talk about them, that the Pima Indians are this group of Indians that are both in the United States and in Mexico. It's just because there's a line that divides it, but it's all the same Indians.
Genetics.
And the ones that are in Mexico, they don't have the electricity where they are. They don't have doctors. They don't. It's more
They don't
like
have insurance.
Yeah, they don't have insurance, and they're thin. They're healthy. When you see the pictures, whereas the ones in the United States,
In Arizona.
they were severely overweight.
Yeah, they were obese.
And they have insurance.
Yeah.
And so you said they work for a company.
For RV production assembly facilities. And in Mexico, the Pima Indians, grandma's the doctor, and she gives everybody chicken soup and herbs and things. But they have something in the soil there that the Pima Indians in Arizona don't have. And as a result, the Pima Indians in Mexico have the lowest rate of obesity and diabetes, type 2 diabetes in the world, 6% or less. The ones in Arizona, same genetics, have the highest rate of diabetes and obesity in the world. They're at 46%. And that's because the ones in Mexico have something in their food that the ones in Arizona don't have.
But I can tell you in Dallas, Texas, that most people don't even eat plants very much. They don't eat fruits or vegetables much. Most people are eating processed food. So definitely that even if they were getting, because they might get on this health kick, I'm going to have fruits and vegetables. And, vegans, like I know people have become vegans. Like Steve Jobs, who died at 56. And so they're not getting all the nutrients. How many are they getting if they just do fruits and vegetables?
Well, it's variable.
Right.
Okay. The only thing we can guarantee is they're getting some vitamin C.
Yes.
Okay. And if they're eating carrots and beets and they're getting the cofactors to convert the beta carotene into vitamin A, they're getting some vitamin A. They're not getting the cofactors. You can eat 50 gallons of carrot juice a day and not get any vitamin A.
Well, our soil here is depleted too, so they're not getting as much nutrients as they used to.
Well, it may never have had the nutrients in it in the first place. It doesn't have to be depleted. It could be, remember, nutritional minerals do not occur in a uniform blank around the crust of the earth. They occur in veins like chocolate and chocolate ice cream. One row in the field might have 3 minerals. 5 rows over might have 10. And so just even in the same field, which row you're eating the carrots out of makes a huge difference in what you're getting. And so the only way you're going to guarantee that you're going to get all 90 essential nutrients is to supplement properly. And this is a huge issue because doctors, just eat well. Doctors tell their patients, you'll get everything you need. That would be the equivalent of a mechanic saying, look, you live in Texas. Don't put oil in your car. You can just put dirt from Texas, put 6 quarts of dirt from Texas in your car.
Gotta have oil.
There's bound to be some oil in there because this is dirt from Texas. Now, an insane person, Ann, would not do that to their car. But yet somebody with 3 university degrees, 2 of which are science degrees, and their doctor says, just eat well, get everything you need. They say, yay, my doctor said I can just eat well and get everything I need. I don't need a supplement.
So they've been fooled into listening to them, instead of taking it and researching it and making sure, getting a second opinion or a third opinion like we do, even when we're buying a washer. We went and got we looked at all these different things. I asked different people, but they have grown up believing that the doctors just know everything. Yeah.
You have to appreciate the average lifespan of doctors, according to their own surveys published, is 56. Why would you believe a group of people on the question of health and longevity whose average lifespan in their trade is 56, according to their own surveys? And of course, doctors are very dangerous. A lot of nice people in the medical profession, but the doctors are very dangerous. According to Johns Hopkins a couple of years ago, they came out and said the 3rd leading cause of death in America is simple mistakes in hospital doctors. Each year in hospitals, doctors kill, K-I-L-L, 251,000 patients. Every 4 years, it killed 1 million patients. How many people would go to a fast food restaurant if you knew it killed 251,000 customers every year? How many would fly a particular airline if you knew that they killed 251,000 passengers? You wouldn't go.
Yeah.
And so why do people keep going to doctors? Well, because they have insurance. I'd rather, use insurance and get killed than pay $3 out of my pocket to get well.
Well, I think that they just have a mentality of, because I talk to clients, if they ask me why I never go, how come it's been 10 years I've been the doctor? And I said there was this transition from, insurance, just wait until you got sick and then hoping you could find a drug or something to feel better. There's a transition to actually doing maintenance the whole time. Now, I thought I was doing maintenance when I was training with Larry North and Cliff Sheets. I was in great shape. I was 12% body fat. I was an incredible athlete, but I started losing my memory like crazy. I mean, it was bad how forgetful I got. Sometimes I didn't even know where I was. It got really bad. So I spent a long time putting all those nutrients back in my brain, learning how to get my memory back and realizing what I didn't have. And it was actually a lot of fat. I didn't have the fat. And
which brings up the subject of
cholesterol. Yes. Because I was told to eat egg whites. And so I didn't have any cholesterol.
That's why you were losing your memory.
Yes, it was terrible, but I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. So when I heard you about how many eggs you have every day, and I know my dad does that. He has I don't know if it's 10, I think it's 8, about 8 every day. Mm-hmm. And he's done that his whole life. He's 87, doesn't use a calculator. He is the smartest man. And next to you, of course. And I thought, of course, eat the egg yolks, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where the cholesterol is. And of course, medical doctors have really, really made a huge problem for people in the industrialized world. They have demonized cholesterol to sell a product. It wasn't a bad theory to demonize cholesterol. It was a fraud because they knew they were not telling the truth, but they did it purposely to sell a product. And they were getting paid to sell that product. It turns out that by getting people on egg beaters instead of eggs and eating margarine instead of butter and using oils to cook with instead of lard and that kind of thing, doctors have created the 4th leading cause of death in the industrialized world. It's killed over 1 billion people since 1942, this disease, called Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a physician-caused disease. It is a cholesterol deficiency disease. The optimal total cholesterol in a human being should be 350 to 500. The cultures on Earth that have the fewest heart attacks and strokes are the ones that have blood cholesterol totals of 350 to 500. Of course, it's 95% the good cholesterol, the HDL, and they live on nothing but meat and fat. They don't eat vegetables. They don't eat fruit. They don't eat nuts. They don't eat grains. They just eat meat and fat.
Is that the Eskimos?
It's the Inuit Eskimos above the Arctic Circle, and nobody could believe that. And so for 25 years, every year for 25 years, they send up teams of people from research laboratories. Comes up, they're total. I apologize, it's my watch ringing. They totally actually tell people that they have to get off of cholesterol, and they have caused Alzheimer's disease. 75% of your brain weight is cholesterol. 75% of your brain weight is cholesterol. You can't make enough. And so it's imperative. And of course, cholesterol makes up 95% of the weight of human hormones.
Well, and the research came back last year in November that I saw that people that have high cholesterol live longer than people that have low cholesterol.
That's correct.
And so the Inuits, though their cholesterol is between 350 and higher,
to 350 and 500.
They don't have Alzheimer's.
That's correct.
That is amazing.
Yeah, Alzheimer's disease is a physician-caused disease. It's due directly to a cholesterol deficiency.
So it is the actual med schools that are teaching these people that.
That is correct.
So that is like a organization that paid to be able to have med schools do that. I mean, how? I mean, I know that
they
might
give
be
them
a
research money.
Research money.
See, that's how they couch the crime.
So these doctors don't realize that they take their same medicine. That's why they die in their 50s. They do. They take their same prescriptions. Mm-hmm. And so they believe it as well. And they're the only Indies don't die in their 50s. I've seen Indies. Well, you're 80. Mm-hmm. So we have a DO friend. He's almost 80. He's still practicing. And his brother is practicing. Mm-hmm. And he's a year older than him. And they have this thriving practice and they love what they do. But MDs are the ones that die. And I know because I refer people, they'll ask me for a doctor and I'll say, oh, there's one over there, one over there. And then I find he's dead. Mm-hmm. And so
can't find him anymore.
I can't tell you psychiatry. I can't tell you how many. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's crazy. When you really start being aware, mm-hmm. they die young.
Yes. And so you must supplement. You must eat. In fact, I think the records is published in the medical journal published by Harvard Medical School. There was a fellow who was 88 years old and he looked like he was 50. All his blood tests and his physical showed he was a healthy 50-year-old, but he was 88 years old. And they asked him, what does he attribute his youthful looks to and his health to? And they're thinking, he said, well, my whole family's that way. It's genetic. He said, oh, that's because I eat 25 eggs a day. What? Yeah, I eat 20. Well, why on earth do you eat 25 eggs a day? It's because it gives me the sex life of an 18-year-old, because testosterone is 95% by weight. You got it. Cholesterol.
Well, that is an amazing story, right? That he had 25 eggs a day.
And that was in 1991 that was published.
And they used to say that that the egg was perfect. And I remember those days, the egg was perfect. And my grandmother, they made eggs every day. And so
I want you to think about it. When that egg is fertilized, the baby chick is the size of a zero on a printed page. It's that little white spot sitting on top of the yolk. In 21 days, that chick develops from the nutrition in the egg white and the yolk. And at hatching at 21 days, that chick is about that big.
Yeah.
And all the egg yolk and egg white is gone because the chick has consumed it as it's developing. And all the nutrients in that egg made the chick's brain and spinal cord, the heart and lungs and liver and kidneys, muscles, bones, liver, if I didn't say it, thyroid gland, the adrenal glands, the gonads, whether it's male or female, the digestive tract, the eyes, all that's formed by the nutrients in that egg. And people are saying eggs are bad for you. No way.
that is amazing. It's funny, I didn't think of it like that. That little chick consumes that egg, yes. And that's how it develops into this incredible thing. If you don't have chickens, I'm telling you, I love chickens. I love them. They're so friendly. So that is fascinating. I want you to tell people when we come back how they can get these minerals.
I'm going to contact you.
Okay. So you guys, when we come back, we're going to talk all about those, how to get them. But I want you to hear how he's put together these packs. So it's not hard for you to figure out what you need to get all your 90 nutrients. So I just want to make sure that you can get them, and he's going to give a special offer today. So we'll talk to you in just a minute.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
You're getting better all the time. Now back to Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
We are back with Dr. Wallach. We are going to talk to you specifically about how to get these 90 nutrients. So, Dr. Wallach, can you share that?
Well, let me just throw it back to you because I don't live here. They will be able to contact you. Okay, they'll be able to contact you through your regular number, and we'll give them a special deal. They can get it wholesale from you, and we're on the stock market. Our stock symbol is YGYI. We're on NASDAQ. May be interested in that. Have a look, see if it's of interest to you. But I share that with you because we are growing because of that, and as a result, we're looking for help. And if you're interested in helping people with their health and getting an income stream and tax breaks of billionaires, contact Ann.
Contact me.
Yeah,
yes.
And through her toll-free number and regular number, local number, and website, and she'll get it to you for host. So just say, hey, I heard it on the show you had with Doc. And
that number is 1-800-214-0065. But I want you to share the Healthy Start Pack and how you have the 900 secret sauces.
Okay. Basically, we had to have a program that met the basic needs of all vertebrates. We came up with what we call a Healthy Start Pack. And the Healthy Start Pack contains actually 248 nutrients. Many of them will, excuse me, in the near future, be considered essential nutrients. But right now, everybody agrees upon 90, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 minerals. All of these are in our Healthy Start Pack. It's one Healthy Start Pack per 100 pounds of body weight. And I always like to err on the side of excess. So if somebody weighs 150 pounds, 160 pounds, I would go 2 Healthy Start Packs instead of 1. And then we have the secret sauces for 900 different diseases. Now, some secret sauces will cover 6 or 8 or 10 or 20 diseases. For instance, if you have the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack for people with osteoporosis, arthritis, bone spurs, fibromyalgia, lupus, things like bone-to-bone arthritis, osteoporosis, these kinds of things, these diseases go away because your body uses these raw materials to rebuild themselves and maintain themselves. We have also what we call the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack for people who have diabetes, whether it's type 1 or type 2, doesn't matter. Type 1 is a birth defect caused by mama missing something when the beta cells are forming in the islets of Langerhans that make insulin. Instead of having 5,000 beta cells in your islet of Langerhans, you might have only 3 cells, and you're not making enough insulin. So you're a type 1 when you're born. But you can actually reduce the amount of insulin you require to maintain yourself with a type 1 diabetes with our healthy blood sugar pack, and which is the basic healthy start pack plus a couple of other things added to it to make it the healthy blood sugar pack. Type 2 diabetes, I don't care if you've been a type 2 diabetic for 30 years, in 30 to 60 days it's gone.
Right.
Because it's a simple nutritional deficiency. Now, you do have to get rid of the bad foods so you can absorb properly. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, butter, rye, and oats. In the case of diabetes, no sugar, no fruit juices, no fruit. You can get everything you need from fruit juices and fruit from vegetables without the hazards of the sugar. And then we have the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. We have the Healthy Sports Pack. Again, I've done 1,700 autopsies of kids that have died of this sudden heart attack that kills young athletes, published in 3 languages. And it's caused by a deficiency of a single nutrient. And so we have the Healthy Sports Pack. We also have our sports drink Rebound, which has 100 nutrients in it. All the other sports drinks in the market only have 2 to 6 nutrients, none of which are the one that will prevent that sudden heart attack. Ours has the nutrients in it that will prevent that sudden heart attack. So if you're a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or uncle, are you going to give your kids, your grandkids, your niece or nephews, you're going to give them one of these other sports drinks that only has 2 nutrients in it, none of which will stop those heart attacks? We're going to give them Rebound that has 100 nutrients in it, including the ones that cause a sudden death. And so it's not hard to know the answer to the question. And so we have secret sauces to deal with over 900 diseases. And again, some of them will deal with 2 diseases, some will deal with 25 diseases.
Now that Rebound, you made that for the NBA?
For Theo Ratliff.
Theo Ratliff,
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, he was a 6'11" top player for the Atlanta Hawks. He lost his contracts because he had a broken wrist, he had a hip problem, he had bone arthritis, all 28 years of age. Rebuilt him, and of course, we came up with a sports drink for him, so that he could guarantee he's getting all these nutrients. And of course, he played for another 11 years, made $140 million over that time. Retired his last 2 years. He played for the Atlanta. LAX.
The Lakers.
The Lakers. Now, I do have to say, Drew Pearson, of course, is from Dallas, Texas.
Yes, Drew.
And the Hail Mary pass receiver for the Dallas Cowboys got him in the Super Bowl that year. And he's one of our associates. Drew Pearson lectures around the world on the longevity system. He's a wonderful man, one of our greatest lecturers, a tremendous speaker. And so we just love him to pieces. And so I just thought I'd throw that in because he is a real favorite of people from Texas and so specifically Dallas.
Yeah, and Dixon Edwards showed up yesterday, and he's going to be joining us.
Yes, I'm very excited. He's a very nice young man and has the right attitude, and he knows that the reason why he was able to play so long without serious disabling injuries at the sidelining is because he was supplementing very heavily.
Yes, he's very knowledgeable. We just want you to be able to get these nutrients, so please feel free to call in if you have any questions as well. We will have somebody answering those phones, 1-800-214-0065, and we will answer any other questions you have about what Doc Wallach has said today. And he has a radio show, so I want to let you know he is on here on Saturdays. He is on at 5 p.m. on Saturday and at 7 a.m. on Sunday on KBDT. And then you have your weekly show as well. And so we just want you to hear him and learn more about him. And we want to thank you so much for coming.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you so much for having me, and appreciate you and all the great work you do getting the information out there because it's going to be individuals who are going to save their families, not doctors. It's going to be individuals that save their towns and their churches, not doctors. It's going to be individuals that save America, not doctors.